Good evening. My name is Greg Williams. I am the current president of the Texas Track and Field Coaches Association. I want to welcome everyone here to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I would like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies. This is a young man that I've known for many years. He's best known as the voice of the Texas Relays for a number of years, and I've come to know him as a great personal friend. He has been good to us in Lancaster because he's announced our Meet of Champions for what, 5 to 6 years in a row? 9 years, I'm sorry, 9 years. And he did a great job, and I'm just so blessed to know this young man. I'll introduce to you our Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Bill Melton.
Good evening. My special thanks to our President Greg for the enduring term of young. Many of you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to welcome you to the Texas Track and Field Coaches Association 2013 Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. To our past recipients, welcome back. To those to be inducted tonight, congratulations. And to all the family members, team members, supporters, congratulations and thank you for being with us.
Mike and Art Shaner for all the support they've shown me and everything they do for track and field. It is really incredible how much time and effort they put into promoting this sport that I absolutely love. And so I just wanted to thank them. I was a little ecstatic, of course, when Stuart told me that they had named me Coach of the Year. I'm so lucky to be in the situation that I'm in. Last year I talked a little bit about how track and field kind of saved my life. I had a poor home life, and it really has done so much for just myself personally, to be able to become a person and not end up somewhere else. So the fact that they're able to keep promoting this sport that there for a while was starting to seem like it was starting to die out a little bit. It wasn't as popular, and it seems to really be coming back, and I'm really excited about that. What I'd like to talk about a little bit this year is just my kids. They're incredible, not just athletes, but incredible people. They run fast and jump far and do all the things, throw far, everything they need to do to win state championships. But what I really love about them is just the fun that we have. When I first took over at DeSoto, I was able to work with the head coach that was there for 31 years actually. He was my high school coach, and we had a lot of fun, and the next year we had a lot of fun, and then the next year I realized, okay, now I'm going to have to totally start developing these kids and be the one that was really responsible for what was going on. And I'm lucky to have very good assistant coaches to help. They love track too, and it was hard for me at first because I felt like I had to be kind of a big jerk all the time and be so regimented about things and make sure everybody was doing this and that and all this, and it was kind of rough there the second year. But over the last few years, we've really I've kind of laid off on that and just really started to enjoy the kids again, like I did when I was assistant coach. And of course, I have to be a big jerk sometimes because that's just the job. But we had a lot of kids come back over Christmas break and visit that are running in college and such. And it's funny, the things they want to talk about and the things we look back at is not how fast they ran or how far they went. We laugh about the things that we're doing during practice, or we like to call ourselves Team Skittles because we think we can't perform unless we've had a purple Skittle, or some of them do green Skittles, They all have their own. Some have an orange. You have to have an orange, a purple, and a yellow in that particular order. And so that's the stuff that's fun, that makes it worthwhile to do what we do, because it's so many hours. Like I said, at DeSoto, where I coach, we have a very supportive athletic director, very supportive assistant athletic director of track and field, and it's just a great situation. And I love what I do. I said last year my hair gets bigger as track season comes closer, and it'll be even bigger next week. So I just get so excited about it, and I will sit down because I'm the last 2 years I've been able to come to this Hall of Fame. I'm so entertained by everything that the Hall of Famers have to say, the incredible feats they've been able to accomplish. But mostly what we laugh at is not what they accomplished, but what they did up to that point. And so that's the great beauty of being able to coach and this sport. And so, thank you.
I start out by saying our Lord, glory be to God. Without him, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today. So, a wise man once told me that one of the things that you have to have in this profession is arms like an orangutan. And then when he said it, I was like, arms like an orangutan, it doesn't make any sense. But a lot of the times we have to pat ourselves on the back because a lot of individuals doesn't recognize what we do and the sacrifices that goes into the profession that we have or into the sport of track and field. It's not easy, whether it's cross country or whether it's track and field. So kudos to you guys that's here in the Hall of Fame for having, in the sport of track and field in general, for having arms like an orangutan. Because a lot of the times when you guys are training in these conditions, you guys was outside in the minus 30-degree weather last week training, then you understand that it's pretty tough and it's rigid as far as what we do as a profession. So I give thanks to my administration. I have the very supportive administration. I have a great coaching staff, arguably the best coaching staff in the book, so I didn't do it alone. I have an opportunity to have a lot of great athletes. Jack Sands is on my coaching staff, the legendary Jack Sands. Barry Bronner, who was a recipient of the Coach of the Year award also. And then I have Gerald Rodriguez, who's another throws coach, who's a pretty incredible athlete and Coach of the Year. So God bless me with a twin brother who's also motivates me, give me the opportunity to beat up on him every day. So beating up on the Atascocita High School was pretty impressive, and we enjoyed that feat every day too. So very, very fun. I close out by saying that we faced a lot of adversity throughout the year. I had a kid, funny story, 4x1 exchange zone. We're sitting on a 41-3, 41-4, 4x1 exchange zone. My incoming runner takes out, he's coming in, my outgoing runner don't get out properly, and he spikes him pretty bad, and I'm spending time at the emergency room having him get 8 stitches before the regional meet. My long jumper, who's a 23.7, 23.6 long jumper, goes into his locker. For some reason, kids didn't decide to put a lock on his locker, and open his locker, and the shot puts fall on his foot. 26-foot long jumper. So we faced that at adversity right before the regional meet also. And along the way, a lot of other things where there was a wrestler that I had who decided to hit the window, and the window hit him back, which wasn't a great idea. But when I inherited this program, I inherited from a group of individuals they said wouldn't be anything, or they had character flaws, or they couldn't overcome adversity. We faced a three-hour weather delay at the state meet this year. The final race took place at 12-ish. And it was very exciting. So we sat under Mike Myers Stadium for 3 hours waiting for to come out and run again, and we kicked it out with the 4x2, and luckily we was able to come home with a state championship overall. But I just want to have a message that adversity is all about how you handle adversity, and that's your true character overall. And my guys handled the adversity, and they was prepared, and even though we faced that, glory was praised upon them. So that's it.
First of all, those that are friends, acquaintances, glad to be here to induct Chester. He could have chosen a lot of other people to do this. Chester, I appreciate everything that you've done, and allowing me to do this for you. I've been an official 25 years. I migrated from the Panhandle. I can't do this in 3 minutes. I don't talk that fast, okay? I am a former high school track coach. My last job was at Newman Smith, and I was at Cedar Hill for 5 years before I got out of coaching and became a counselor. Chester has officiated for 62 years. Okay, long, long time. He started in the University of Texas in 1953 as an official. He had finished his eligibility, but he still had some academic work to do. So they allowed him to stay in Hill Hall, and he proctored and he tutored students, and that's where he got his officiating start. He also ran track at the University of Texas, but before that he was at Schreiner College. He won the Southwestern Junior College meet in the mile, and as a result, the University of Texas offered him a scholarship, and that's where he got started. He has worked track meets with all 4 rule books: IAAF, NCAA, high school, USA Track and Field rule books. That's hard to do and to keep everything straight, those of you that are officials or coaching. He's worked 2 Olympic Games, the 1984 and the 1996 Olympic Games. Somebody called me and said, was that the 36 games? I said, no, it's the 96 games. We know he's been around a long time, but he wasn't eligible for the 36 games. Chester started out working mainly as a timer and working finish line. He migrated to field events as the finish line technology became better. The last time I think he worked at a finish line was in one of our northwestern cities, Tracktown, USA. He was sitting up there in the timer stand, and the first race went by, and all of a sudden everybody on the timing stand ran out to the lanes to do the timing and tell them what time they ran in the finish. Remember that, Chester? And we had 4 finish link cameras on the finish line, but they still ran out there just to tell them what their times were. That was the last time those guys did that. He got them back corralled and said, guys, we don't do that anymore. Chester has worked not only the Olympics, but several NCAA championships. He's worked high school championships. He's currently one of the referees for the last 15 years at the state high school championship. He's worked youth meets. I've seen him at 12:30 at night. We're still working with those youth. He's paid his dues. He's currently USA Track and Field Masters. He's their field referee, and he's done that for several years. He's done NCAA Division I to Division II meets, and it's too numerous to count. He's worked high school meets such as the Golden West and many district and area meets along with regionals. He's even got involved with the TAPS region and the state meet, and he also has started picking up. He didn't have enough to do, so he picked up the homeschool meets. So he does that too. When you look at the whole body of work, and Chester wrote this part of this for me, is what it really means is Chester is old. But if you look at this guy, hey, let me tell you how tough this guy is. He had to have a hip replacement. He just decided to do both of them, okay? He had a double hip replacement, did them both at the same time. So this guy is like the Energizer Bunny and just keeps on going. This year, it'll be the 60th Texas Relays. Is that accurate? 60 years at the Texas Relays, and he's officiated for 62 years. When Chester was putting all this together, I stopped by the house to visit with him and Mary. We're sitting at the table and we're going over all of his accomplishments. And he looked at Mary and he said, you know, Mary, in your wildest dreams, would you believe that I was able to accomplish all that I've been able to accomplish in track and field? Mary sat there and really didn't say anything. She kind of put her head down. She looked up and she said, Chuck. She calls him Chuck. Said, yes, you've accomplished a lot, but I have to tell you, you are not in my wildest dreams.
I don't know, I follow the guy that introduced me very well, but, and he's good. He went to Winnipeg, Canada to do a attend an IAAF officiating clinic, and they held it in a convent. And Jim's problem was that the beds were only about 5.5 feet long. But he is an ATO, which is an area technical official, means that he can officiate or supervise meets in North America, in the Caribbean, and Central America, NACA. I'm pleased to have some guests here. My wife's here. She came to see what I do all the time when I go on every weekend during the spring. Dean Smith, C.A. Rundell, who were two of my 3 roommates at my first year in Texas. The other one, Charlie Thomas, could not be here. I'll have to have Ted Nelson just stand in for him, I guess. But I want to take just a few minutes, and that's all I'm going to take, and ask this group of Texas high school coaches to do something, or to consider something that I'd like to see done. And what I'd like to see done is the javelin put in to the Texas high school program.
Yes.
Now, I'm told by UIL that if this group would recommend that it would probably get done. I'd like to see TAPS do it. I'd like to see SBC do it, or SPC do it. The reason is it provides more scholarships for Texas kids. We might get some Texans out there throwing the javelin instead of somebody from Norway or Sweden or Denmark or someplace like that. It's not going to be, it's a cost-effective move. There's not a big expense involved. The only problem is that some schools may not have the land to throw it, since their football field is AstroTurf. But they can work out with AstroTurf with the turbo jabs. But if we put the javelin in, we'll be able to develop some of these strong-arm Texas kids that are rock throwers and football throwers into athletes. If we add the javelin, we now have all of the events that it takes to make a heptathlete or a decathlete. And at some point in time, we should consider doing that as part of the high school program. Some of you know that John Turek at St. Mark's holds a decathlon, heptathlon meet every year, and it's interesting to see what we could get if these kids were given that opportunity. So I want to recommend to you, Stuart, and to put this before this group and recommend to the UIL that we add the javelin to the part of the state high school. The other thing, speaking as an official, that I've been campaigning for, and we've just about got it accomplished in Texas, but it needs to be nationally, and that's to get rid of the jewelry rule. All of us who work as officials want to officiate events and not be looking at everybody and seeing what they're wearing as jewelry. So UIL has pretty well said just ignore that rule unless it just gets clear out of hand. But it needs to be on the national high school level as well. Other than that, I want to just thank the association for the honor. And remember that track coaches can always achieve great things. If you don't think so, remember Bill Bowerman in Oregon, who decided to invent a better track shoe and founded Nike. And if you don't think of him, just think of the lost dogs. Thank you for having me. Good luck.
I'll start out with trivia also. Can anybody tell me who was part of the members or the members on the Dream Team 2? Dream Team 2, does it ring a bell? Jason Kidd? No, not quite. Nobody? A lot of people, just a couple Olympics ago, the Jamaican team broke the world record in the 4x1. They ran sub 37. A lot of people say arguably that's the best 4x1 ever assembled. I disagree. The Dream Team 2 was assembled in 2000. It was actually 1997 in Burrell, Germany. First leg was Donovan Bailey, the 1996 Olympic champion. Second leg was Leroy Burrell. Third leg was the most underrated 200 runner probably of our time, or my time, Frankie Fredericks, ring the bell. And then anchor leg was Carl Lewis. That team ran a pretty fast time, and that team was pretty powerful, and that was part of Carl Lewis' farewell tour in 1997. Majority of us in this room have something in common. We all like being around successful individuals. Success is not measured in finances. It's measured in how far you came, whether it's your faith, whether you're a great husband, whether you're a great brother, or whether you're a great mentor. When we talk about success, we talk about sacrifice. And everybody knows when it comes to being an athlete or being a coach, sacrifice is involved. A lot of us leave our parents, a lot of us leave our family members, and we don't come back until the end of the season when it comes time for track and field. So I know a lot of husbands had that conversation with their wives January the 1st and basically told them, I see you at the end of the track season, which is sometime around June or July. So why did you guys get the opportunity to take the credit card and go shop with your husband's money and not him check your bank account and keep up with it? So, anyone who sacrificed understands fundamental. The guy that I'm introducing, Leroy Russell Burrell, understands fundamentals. As a student athlete and as a mentee of his, that's one of the things he emphasized at the University of Houston. As a student athlete, he emphasized education was the first and foremost for those who got bent out of shape by their athletic career not taking off, for them not accomplishing the things they want to accomplish. He made us zone in on academics, and during that time and when he took over for the great Tom Tellez, the improvement in the academic GPA and the graduation rates showed some of the foundations that he set with his student athletes. He emphasized family. He was real big on family and spending time with family, whether it's friends and family, and really engaging in that aspect. The last thing that he talked about was faith. He understood that faith was a big part of us. At the University of Houston, we was lucky to have a church and some surrounding area. A lot of the population of the student bodies got together and went to Willard Avenue Church, and they really used that faith, whether it's them staying out late at night on the Houston Strip and then getting up early in the morning. Luckily, they had a 12 o'clock service that the student athletes could go to. So. My relationship with Leroy is as an athlete and as a mentor. He really did a lot for me when I was a student athlete at the University of Houston. I was lucky to serve on his staff for a little bit of time after I received my degree. Leroy is a graduate of the University of Houston with a degree in communications. One of the things I never told Leroy, and I'm very amazed by, is a record that he set. I never had this conversation with him. The Santa Monica Track Club set a record in the 4x2, and me being a track and field high school coach, the 4x2 is a race that's ran at the state meet. 1:18:68 is one of the most amazing records that's on our books to this day. Still have not been touched. I was around the good TCU days when TCU was going sub 120 in the 4x2 with the Olympians that they had, but the team of Burrell, Mike Marsh, Floyd Hurd, and Carl Lewis was pretty astronomical when it came to running that 4x2. Leroy is a graduate of Penwood High School in Pennsylvania. Another trivia that you guys might not know is Leroy is an individual that won the state meet by himself. Scored 40 points at the state meet. He won the 100, the 200, the long jump, and the triple jump. That year earned him Athlete of the Year in the Eastern Track League or Association in Pennsylvania. So that was pretty impressive out of Leroy also to win the state 3A championship by himself. As a student athlete at the University of Houston, Leroy ran with a lot of great athletes. He encountered some adversity along the way. He was a two-time NCAA champion in long jump. He incurred some adversity when he tore his ACL his freshman or sophomore year. freshman year and came back and had a great year the second year. He's one of the only guys I know that jumped 27.5 and had one of the arguably best meets as a collegiate athlete when he ran 9.95 in 1961, and also jumped over 26 feet at the Southwest Conference meet at A&M. So one of the most impressive things. So that led him to be named the Athlete of the Year when it came to the collegiate athletics during that time frame. And as I stated, he's been inducted in several Hall of Fames. He was inducted into the Penn Relays Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the University of Houston Hall of Fame. And today he's getting inducted into the Texas Track and Field Coaches Association Hall of Fame. One of the brightest things and one of the most amazing things that came to Leroy is in 1994, he married his soulmate, Michelle Finn. That was at Florida State, right? Coming off a national championship. When Michelle came into his life, they had a lot of conversations over the phone, and she really admired his faith and his family values that he had as a young man, and that really attracted to him. When he finished his collegiate career, Leroy went on to be a professional track and field athlete, where he ended up setting the world record twice with a time of 9.90 and a time of 19.85 that was later broke by his training partner for Santa Monica and Carl Lewis. Coaching career-wise, Leroy has took over the reign from Tom Tellez, which is pretty big shoes to fill, but he's done a great job of doing that. Along the way, he's been named Conference USA Coach of the Year 23 times. He's currently in his 16th season at the University of Houston. While at the University of Houston, he's had 16 NCAA All-Americans, 24 Conference USA Championships on the record board, and he was recently inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame recently. And with that, I want to introduce Leroy Burrell.
Thank you very much. This is a really amazing group of people. Now I look over the scene and all the Olympians and medalists and outstanding track and field coaches here. People I competed against both at the high school level. How do you know? I competed against John Drummond in high school. John Drummond went to Overbrook High School, and we competed quite a bit back then. People I shared time with on the Olympic team, Carlette Guidry and I were on the junior team back in 1985, and then we were on the Barcelona team together, and just a great friend, and then a gentleman who I competed with and against, and as a collegiate athlete, and then as a coach, and Coach Thornton and Coach Nelson. And gosh, it's just really, really amazing. You look back over the years and how many times so many people in this room's lives have touched mine. Go over here to see Shirley Crow and Fred Newhouse, officiated several meets I've competed in. Actually, Fred I think came up to me maybe a couple months ago, and I think we were somewhere along the line, told me one of my kids got disqualified in the bench. So then of course Shirley Crow, who was a long-time official, not only here in Texas, but really dedicated to assisting us in running our meets at the University of Houston. Just such an amazing group of people, and I'm I guess you'd say I wasn't born in Texas, but I made it here pretty quickly, and thanks to Tom Tellez, who just happened to notice a little kid in Lansdowne, Pennsylvania, who put up some decent marks that stood out. And actually, you know what? I'm going to tell the truth on that. What really happened is Evelyn Lewis called Tom and said, "Hey Tom, there's this kid from the school, Penwood High School, that I never really heard of, that just happened to run like 33 to 300 indoors and jump 24 in the long jump, and darn near won the state. You might want to call him." And so Tom called, and and invited me to come down and visit the University of Houston. That's what one of the first steps that leads me to where I am today. I want to close out with a little thanks. My family's not here, primarily because my son's going to be competing in his really his first college meet tomorrow, and so he had to stay home. And my wife, my other son had a football injury. He's recovering from that. So I really would love to share this moment with my family. But I'm really thankful for my wife. She really does an amazing job keeping me grounded and focused, and really help me shepherd through the transition from competing to coaching. And she still stands by me and helps me and understands when I do check out at beginning of January, not show back up until really show back up until June. And I would really just like to thank my teammates at the University of Houston, many of whom coach, a few of whom coach in the high school ranks, all around the state. And my club teammates, Santa Monica Track Club, I only know Santa Monica Track Club, based in Houston, Texas. But with that, I really would like to thank each and every one of you here. I know we've all, especially some of us who I've known for many times, our paths have crossed. We've kind of swerved in and out of each other's lives, but it's been a really wonderful ride, and I really thank you for the honor, Stuart, for the honor of bringing me here and recognizing me for my accomplishments. And I certainly hope that I'll continue to perform well as a coach and make everyone proud. Thank you.
The fun part for me is that our lives have crossed forever. As an athlete, as a student, I can remember I had a policy after your first year, you could move off campus. I did not want John off campus. But he comes into the office and he's got this little guy with him, He said, Bubba, GPA is good, everything's good. We want to get an apartment together. And I look at this guy and I say, look, I know where his rent's coming from. Where's your rent coming from? He said, well, I'm an entertainer. I said, whoa. I got up and I said, come on, John. And so the young man introduced himself, and it was amazing because the Sunday before I had just read an amazing article about him. It was Kirk Franklin. And then it all began. The personality, the energy, the drive, it was unbelievable. And John, it didn't come easy. It wasn't easy. He worked for everything that he got. He ran internationally. He got with a great group of guys. Otto, Maurice, worked with John Smith, and was really the backbone of HSI because that was the spokesman and helped invent that part of track and field. As the Santa Monica track team had invented that part of track and field, it was needed. He never was the crown prince for me. He was just John because he loved track and field. And he was bringing attention to track and field, and we needed attention in track and field. And it wasn't for bad reasons, it was always for the right reasons. As I became involved in USA Track and Field, the U.S. junior team that went to the first foreign country, and we went to Sydney, and then in 2000 as an assistant on the Olympic team, and John is part of that team, and the joy I saw and felt and the won the gold medal. And the frustrations that came and go. About a year and a half ago, I got a call from him. And he said, it's been in front of me the whole time, I just couldn't see it. He's coaching. He's working with young people. And he's getting some of the payback that he dealt out. But it's in him. And I'm really looking to the rest of his life and growing. He deserves to be in this Hall of Fame. I can remember in 1970, I think, seeing Johnny Lamb Jones run 400 meters at Saginaw High School, Boswell, Texas, Boswell. And the great Fred Newhouse in the games, and Ted, and John, this is a great family. And for me, they think the Heisman is a big deal. You guys, ladies, that's represented your country, you're the Heisman Trophy. You're the real deal. You lined up. And so for me tonight, it's a pleasure to announce John Drummond to this group. And John, you only got 2 or 3 minutes.
Leroy, you said that we competed against each other in Philly. Actually, you just beat the crap out of me in Philadelphia. I don't remember ever competing against you. I just remember looking at the back of you saying, who is that old man running this race? He was an incredible and a phenomenal, he's about a year older than me. I think you are a year ahead of me. And so I gotta say, all good things come from the East. Coach, you said about the dream team. The actual dream team was in 1993. And that would be John Drummond leading off to Andre Kaysen, to Dennis Mitchell, to Leroy Burrell, breaking the world record in the semifinals. That's the dream team. And we're all from the East Coast. Let me just say, Dennis Mitchell from New Jersey, Andre was from Virginia, we'll claim him. Leroy and I from Philly, so that's the dream team. And I do believe, as Bubba said, that there was some shenanigans going on, because I got to the University of Florida, I was on the plane, got to the place, walked into the office, and the coach looked at me and said, son, we can't admit you. And it was funny because a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from Coach Thornton that says, hey son, we can get you into TCU. I don't know. So I ended up at TCU. We had a very, very successful career. And this is a true story, and I promise I won't be long. But my first year at TCU, Coach Thornton said, now son, this is our first time at the NCAAs. I just have one request. I want you in bed at 11 o'clock tonight. Fair request. But I got this phone call that my friends were going bowling. We were in Duke, North Carolina, and I'm thinking, okay, I can make it back by 11. I had a car, I drove to the bowling alley. I looked at the watch, oh Lord, I got 2.5 minutes to get back. I got back as quick as I could. I walked into the lobby, I kind of peeked around, didn't see anybody. And where the elevators were, there was these couches that you had to pass. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm safe. I'm looking in the lobby, the bar is empty, nobody's there, I'm checking, don't see Bubba. I'm like, I'm safe. I'm walking through, and I cut that corner, and Bubba's sitting with his legs crossed. And he said these words to me, son, you owe me. Thought my world was coming to an end. That year I pulled a muscle at the NCAA championships, and I just felt like it was because I went bowling. I gotta say, I never went bowling again. But this is definitely an awe-inspiring and an honor moment for me. I want to thank God for the gifts that He gave me. I want to thank my wife and children for sharing me. My wife is right there in the back, if you wouldn't mind standing. This is my lovely wife, Sylvia. She probably has more patience than anybody, because not only do I do this track stuff that consumes me, I also leave on the weekends, every other weekend, and I pastor a church in Philadelphia. So she is very patient, and I'm telling you, thank the Lord for her, because I don't think nobody else would tolerate me, even if I didn't do that stuff. I want to thank USA Track and Field and the women's chair, Ms. Sue Humphrey, and part of the executive committee, Mr. Fred Newhouse, who elected me to be the relay coach in 2011 and 2012. That was probably a dream job for me because, people kept saying anybody could do it and they weren't getting it done, so I guess my name is anybody. I want to thank the 24 athletes who endured the process and brought home the 2 golds and the 2 silvers and the American and the world record in the relays and the 4x1 and the 4x4s. And lastly, to all the members of the Track and Field Association, listen, I know you at some point touched you, talked to you. If I said something wrong, I didn't really mean it. I was in game mode. I had that track thing going on, and if I did it as a coach, I did mean it because you was like stopping me from doing what I need to do. But I love all of you. Coach Gordon said it best. I really love track and field. All I know is track and field. I never held a real job. All I've done is track my whole life. Even right now, I'm coaching at a little high school in Arlington, Texas. Never thought it would happen, but I am. And Bubba's right. I'm getting everything that I've ever did paid back tenfold. The difference is kids today are they're crazy. We at least had some sense. We had some sense, but these kids today, I don't know. I blame it on the video games because they think they can reset everything, I don't know. But I definitely want to thank all of you who have touched my life or had some part of me, everyone who has mentored me or coached me or talked to me or talked me up, talked me down. So there have been a lot of talk up and talk down moments. I'm somewhat in track and field. I would like to say all of us are bipolar. But I really appreciate all of you, even here in Texas. It's funny because when I came to Texas, I did think I was going to get out, but like every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. And so I went to California for 11 years. Look at me, I'm back in Texas. Go figure, right? But I thank all of you for even considering me. I'm kind of like you, Leroy. I kind of feel like I'm too young to be receiving this accolade, but I do appreciate you acknowledging and recognizing the work that has been done over my entire career, the contribution that I've given here in Texas to the Texas college system, as well as now working as a high school coach and just being a part of it. And I want to tell you that while you may not know it, my contributions to Texas in USA Track and Field, I fight very hard for you guys to get stuff here in Texas. And those of you who know, if I walk in the room, we make things happen. So I appreciate this honor. Thank you very much and hope to have many more. God bless you.
Well, I met Carlette and her family 28 years ago, and she was a little high school junior running out of Houston, Texas. And at that time, we were trying to recruit her, obviously, to come to the University of Texas and to stay strong and be a Longhorn and do all of these things. And I'll always remember one night, I called her just to chat, as college recruiters do, just to chat and do whatever. And her mom said, well, she's busy. There's another college coach here talking to her. And, I was like, man, I wonder who it is. And so we kept talking, and it came out that it was Jackie Joyner-Kersee and Bob Kersee wanting her for UCLA. And so I'm like, well, tell her I called, and I hung up the phone and thought, oh my God, how am I recruiting against these people? But luckily, she had good common sense and stayed in the state and came to UT and never looked back, and I greatly appreciate that. I have been fortunate enough to be one of her coaches at the University of Texas and one of her coaches on 2 Olympic teams in '92 and '96. I've seen Carlette in all different situations. I've seen her playful and just crazy in one of the gang, meaning kids, not gang members. I've seen her serious, getting ready for competitions, and I've seen her in very stressful situations, meaning like an Olympic Games final. And yet, the one thing that stands out to me at all times is something that Leroy Burrell described today in his relay talk about what the second leg runner on a relay is like. Calm, poised, a leader, somebody that you would go to battle with, somebody that was there. and that's Carlette Guidry. Because I knew from the beginning, and I was fortunate enough to be with her on some junior teams, and again, like I say, Olympic teams and senior teams and so forth, and just day-to-day at UT. And the poise and the composure that she held through thick and thin, I would go to battle with her any day, then and now. Because she had to work long and hard to get that degree. She had to put in extra time, efforts. She had to, make decisions to reach this goal. Was she gonna do what some of her friends were doing, or was she gonna stick with the books? And how important was that goal? And I know her mom, when we recruited her mom and her stepdad, that was the one thing that was so important, is that Carlette become a student athlete. And Carlette to me is a true example of a student athlete at the highest level. Now, she doesn't sit around right now polishing her medals and trophies and things at home. She's giving back to the community, which is another reason why my respect for her is so high. She's coaching a youth track team. And like John is getting his payback, Carlette, you're getting your payback. Now, her daughter's on the track team, so that's another issue which she can explain later. But the fact that she is giving back of her time and her energy and her knowledge and sharing with youngsters who have the same dreams and ideals that Carlette had as a high school or middle school student shows again the class act that Carlette is. She is so worthy of this honor tonight, and I'm so honored and proud that she asked me to introduce her. And now I'd like you all to meet her, Carlette Guidry Falquay.
Well, first of all, I'd like to start out by saying I am a sprinter, and sprinters do things really quickly. But we do them nicely, but we do them quickly, so I won't make this a very long speech. I'd like to thank the Texas Coach Association for nominating me. Thank you for this great honor. I really appreciate it. I'd like to give honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Through my years growing up, I grew up in Galveston, Texas, as most people say it. And I didn't have very much, but what my parents gave me was a lot. And what they really gave me is hope. And when I was getting in trouble, they was like, this is not gonna work. You need to decide early what you're gonna do with your life, because this, what you're doing, is not gonna work. So as a very young girl, I watched a movie about Wilma Rudolph. And from that day on, I was stuck. I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I was gonna run track and field, and I was going to the Olympics. But that was all I was gonna do. But they kept me out of trouble, and they kept me focused. When I went to my parents moved to Houston when I was in middle school, and I met a wonderful woman. She's not here with us today. Her name is Carol Middleton. And she saw me in the gym just playing around, and she said, come here. And I was like, yes. She's like, what's your name? And I told her my name. She said, well, I want you to come off my basketball team. I was like, I don't play basketball, I run track. Mind you, I never really ran track because you couldn't run till you got to middle school anyway. So she was like, you run track? So what you gonna do with track? And we had this, to make a long story short, I told her that I was going to the Olympics, I was gonna be the next one, Rudolph, one Titus, that was gonna be me. So she was like, how you gonna get there? I never had a plan. I didn't know how I was gonna get there, but I know that's what I was gonna do. So she sat me down and she said, well, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I just told you, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm running track. And she said, well, is that all you're going to do? What about she pointed to my head. She said, well, what about your head? What about your education? So I was like, okay, I can do that too. And the long story short, she told me about, well, you can play this basketball. We'll see what happens at track, because she was my basketball and my track coach. And when I started running, she was like, Wow, so let's come back, let me talk to you some more. With this track thing, what you can do is, you can go far, very far, you get to college. I didn't know at that time I could see the world, but I knew I was going to college, and that was my stepping stone to the Olympics. To make a long story short, she didn't get to see me do a lot of it because she passed away of cancer. But I always remembered her by saying, set your goals, put them down on paper, reach them, and keep setting goals. And it was from her. I thank her because she helped me lead that pathway to the Olympics, to a university like University of Texas, who I love, and I will bleed, yes, burnt orange. I love my university with all my heart. I was glad that I was able to meet Sue Humphrey, who kept coming around on the junior teams and saying, so, how you doing today? Just talking to me, just getting to know me as a person. I thank you for that. I thank you for leading me to University of Texas. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate our friendship. I'd like to thank my family that's here today. My father is here, and I thank you so much for being here. Hook 'em horns.
Fred Newhouse is a native of Hallsville, Texas, and very proud of that. He also has been married to his first love, Rhonda Marshall, for 42 years. They have 2 daughters, Vonda and Benicia, a son-in-law, Pele, Nunley, who's Vonda's husband, and 2 wonderful grandsons, Andre and Bryce. His daughters, Vonda and Benicia, were track athletes in summer junior Olympic programs in high school, and they both competed at Rice University. Fred enrolled at Prairie View University, and he was a baseball player. Well, it just so happened that he got cut from the baseball team. So, as a freshman, so he walked on as a track athlete. And that is where his career began as an athlete. And while at Prairie View from 66 to 70, he and his team had brought a lot of honors to Prairie View University. He finished college at Prairie View, graduated with a degree in electrical engineering, and then he served 2 years in the military and ran for the U.S. Army track team, and this was during the Vietnam conflict. During this time, also, he competed 6 years internationally, and he achieved many honors in track and field on the international level, and all of this culminated in 1976 when he won a gold medal at the Olympics in the 400, and he was a silver medalist in the 400. After he finished his military service, he came back and he entered the MBA program at the University of Washington. So while there, he was a track and teams graduate assistant coach, and he coached sprinters, jumpers, and quarter milers. He's proud to have been the last track coach to have a University of Washington athlete win the 100-meter dash at the Pac-10 championships. In 1987, Fred founded the Northwest Flyers Youth Track Club in Houston and coached until 1996. This 26-year-old club has hosted a youth competition every year and produced numerous junior Olympians and scholarship athletes. So, not only was he a successful athlete, but he also, for what time he spent there, was successful in the coaching ranks. He began to officiate. In 2002, he was appointed high school referee at Texas Relays. In 2003 to 2013, he's been one of the UIL referees at the state high school meet. 2006, 2013, then an NCAA championship co-referee. 2012 and 13, USA Track and Field, national championship referee. And in 2012, he was a referee at the U.S. Olympic trials. Fred does not have 25 or 30 years in the trenches as an official. And some may think that because of this, he really hasn't earned his wings as a referee. But let me tell you, I have worked with Fred since he became referee at the University of Texas for high school. First thing I got on him about was, Fred, if you're going to be a referee, you're going to have to buy some rule books. Fred said, I don't need no rule books. I said, yes, you do. You need to buy the rule books. I'll tell you where to get them. He said, I don't need to buy any rule books. He said, you got all of them right there in that bag, and I know where the bag's at, and I know where to get them if I need them. But we put him on the fast track. And he has performed exceptionally well at our national championships on the collegiate level and with our elite athletes. I've been with him in some very trying situations, and he's conducted himself very well. And it's a pleasure for him to be one of my associates, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce him to you as a recipient of this class of the Hall of Fame. Thank you.
So, you know, there are a lot of people in the room that I could say thank you to, and I know we're running out of time, I know, but I want to tell you just a couple of stories, real quick ones. I want to ask my daughter Vonda to stand up. Vonda is, went to Rice, ran in the, ran in the 96 Olympic trials, and now she's a principal at Lake Ridge High School in Mansfield. About earlier in the year, Vonda called me and she said, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I said, what, baby? She said, John Drummond is at my school selling Girl Scout cookies. And I said to myself, and Bubba will attest to this, John gave us pure hell at the 2000 Olympic Games. And even though we came away with the gold, he was a rabble-rouser. And the first thing that came to my mind was, there truly is a God somewhere. John Drummond, selling Girl Scout cookies. We've had a great night here tonight, and I couldn't let this go without saying, you know, there are only two real good decisions that I've made in my life. The first one was to accept God as my Savior. And Sammy Walker brought up an incident earlier this evening that reminded me so well of the second good decision. See, Sammy was at the 72 Olympic trials along with that, but he forgot I didn't make that team. I ran 44.1 in the semis and ended up 7th in the finals, ran 44.6, and I was ready to give up track and field and move on with my life and do something else. Except when I got home, my wife said to me, "You can't quit." And I want you to meet the second best decision I made in my life. Rhonda, please stand. I like to say she's my wife, my lover, and my best friend. And to all of you, the coaches, I was really surprised when Stuart Cantor told me that I was being selected. Because all my conversations with coaches these days are not good conversations. So I can't imagine anybody that's a coach voting for a referee. Because the life of a referee, as you know, is pretty short. Has nothing but bad news to say when he talks to coaches. The last one I would like to mention is that one of the guys that's really made a difference in my life when it comes to officiating is none other but Bubba Thornton. I knew I was going to like Bubba on the 2000 team. Bubba was in charge of the 400-meter runners, hurdlers, and so on. And I knew I was going to like Bubba because when I went by his room one morning to get him, he's playing Who Let the Dogs Out. I said, this guy has got to be okay. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for the honor. I mean, it's really, really special. And to Coach of the Year, that 3-hour delay at the meet this year, James Barr had told me that there was a 0 chance of rain. And he got me Director of the Year for that. Thank you very much.
Well, time's out, so is that infinity at this point? So, yeah, I'm just very honored and pleased that Sam asked me to introduce him. I've known him for a long time, and we met at SMU. Sam's accomplishments started at Dallas Samuel High School. He was state champion in 1967 and 68. 68 was probably the hardest one for him to win, though, because the week of the state meet, his father had a massive heart attack. And Sam still went down and was able to put it together and win the state championship that year. Sam set the state and national records in the 12-pound shot, 72 foot 3.5 inches, and also the 16-pound shot, 61 2.5. Sam was national champion in 1968 and world best in both shots for the junior division same year. And as a 17-year-old high school senior, he beat the then NCAA national champion in the 16-pound shot in 3 different competitions. And remember, he's only 17 at that time. Sam broke and rebroke a 10-year-old record held by Dallas Long in 13 separate track meets his senior year. And he also broke Long's record with a 61 2.5 inch put for the 16-pound shot. Sam was the first high school athlete to have the full cover of Track and Field News in April of 1968. Sam was also 2-time All-American, and he was Athlete of the Year. Sam broke the world junior records for age 16 and was 64 foot 6 inches, and age 17, 72 foot 3.5 inches, and his record stood until Michael Carter came along 7 years later and broke it. Sam was not afraid of hard work. His mother would hear weights clanging late at night when he and Don Randall be training and going to the wee hours of the morning, because he was always had someone there to make him work harder. After graduating from high school, Sammy was 4-time All-American at SMU in the shot put, and he placed in the top 3 at the NCAA and National AAU Championships between 1970 and 1980. Sam, as he said, was a 2-sport athlete. He was also national champion in Olympic weightlifting in 1977. He was a 1976 Olympian in Montreal Games, and he finished 9th in that competition, in an event that the Americans are not real strong in. And Sam, many don't know it, but Sam was in the ranked in the top 10 in the world in 2 separate sports, Olympic style weightlifting and shot put. To be the best that he'd be, Sam would always try to invite over the world's best in the shot put to come and work out with him. And with his personality, I never knew who was showing up at the garage. I mean, they would gravitate to him. They would just come. Some of them would even, like Dana LeDuc, would drop out of school for a semester and come train with Sam. Some of these top-tier athletes included Dana LeDuc, Bishop DeLegwitz, Jesse Stewart, Rob Gray, and the unforgettable Brian Oldfield, who was normally at my garage completely out of control, but I stayed quiet about it. It was cool. Sam knew, I mean, he was an incredible competitor. He knew if he could train with them, and they pushed him even harder, that he had that competitive edge when he got into the meet with them. Sam's competitive athleticism was kind of spilled over and probably was on greatest display at the Houston Astrodome Track Invitational in 1971, when Jim Parr kind of set this up. And he got the Southwestern Conference high jump champion and the Southwestern Conference long jump champion to compete against Sam in the standing broad jump. When the event was over, Sam had beaten both of them. And they were a little bit irritated because here's this 270-pound shot putter that just beat them in the standing broad jump, and these are conference champions in jumping events. Well, Sam kind of won up that. When in 1973, the then 1972 Olympic high jump champion, Randy Williams, decided to compete against Sam in the standing broad jump. Sam won. At that time, he walked away with 10,000 lira, which about $100. But this long jumper, Olympic champion, was begging for a rematch, and he was stunned that then 280-pound shot putter had just beaten him in the standing long jump. As I said, I never knew who was coming into that garage, but Sam, his personality and everything, attracted the great athletes. And in 1977, we put together a 5-man team. Now, at that time, there were 10 men on a weightlifting team. We had 5. We went to the national championships and came within a few points of beating the York Barbell Club, who was fully funded and had all kinds of money and had a full team. We finished second, but Sam put us on the map because we had 3 national champions at that meet and came very close to pulling it all off. You know, Sam has so many great accomplishments that I've watched him achieve, but the one accomplishment that he is most proud of is his relationship with Jesus Christ, his Savior. And if you go into his restaurant, now the food's great, but the people coming in there, they may get a Bible verse, but whatever they get, they're leaving there happier than they came because it's his personality that does it. Sam and I were teammates on the SMU track team, and he's been like a brother to me, and I still am his greatest fan. Sam never met a person that he didn't talk to. He was a blue-collar guy that everyone gravitated to and they felt comfortable talking to, and most of the people in this room know who Sam was because of his personality. And I'm keeping this short, you know. For these reasons, I am extremely honored to welcome Sam into this High School Hall of Fame.
And just like Tom said, you know, John and Carlette, there's nothing more important in my life than my personal relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I assure you that. This is incredible. I appreciate it.
Stuart, Steve, Herb, Bill, you guys are great. I've known you two a long, long time, and I guarantee you, when I went through my high school career, I remember watching the Olympic Games on television, 1964. Randy Metzen beat Dallas Long on his last throw. Dallas Long came through on his last throw and won the Olympic Games. I looked over at my daddy and said, "That's what I want to do, Daddy. I want to make the Olympic team." He said, "Son, you have no idea how hard that is." You know what I told him? I don't care. I want to make it. And in 1968, I was at the Olympic trials at 17. And they had what, you may remember this, Red, they had what they called the Olympic trials and the FOT, the final Olympic trials. I was not invited to the final Olympic trials because they invited the top 6 NCAA, top 6 AAU, and 2 from the armed services. Where was I? I was a high school boy, and they didn't even invite me. I wasn't very happy with that. I really wasn't very happy. But anyhow, I wouldn't have made it anyhow. But I am a track and field nut. Has anybody in this room been taking track and field longer than me? Track and field news longer than me? Since 1964, that's 50 years, and I've taken it every year since then. And man, it was pretty cool being on the cover in 68. I want you to know. And these two guys back here, Michelle and Michael Carter, we are right in the middle of the story. This deal. I am so incredibly psyched up about what Michelle's going to do next year, this year, next year, in 16. I may be her second biggest fan. I'm not sure. Not counting family, I'm one of her bigger fans. I've got guys over here, Dave and Eddie and Dean, Janine and Earl. These are guys. I'm president of the Southwest Chapter of the United States Olympians, and we do a lot for representing the United States Olympic Committee, and there's 20 chapters of the United States Olympics all over the country. I've been president for about 12 years, and I guarantee we're doing a lot. I'm involved with a group of men that want to bring the Olympic Games to Dallas in 2024. Clark Hunt, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, Ron Kirk's on the board of directors with me. We're really excited about that possibility. Old Stuart said, "What can we do?" And I said, "I'll let you know, don't worry, we'll do something." And I got news for you. I am a track and field nut. You come into my restaurant, you better be ready, because I know my track and field. The week before, we were jumping there. The week before, I was in Munich, Germany. This was 73. I missed the 72 team because they bought me a little 350 Honda and thought it'd be cool and broke my shoulder. That's real cool. So I got 5th place at the trials in 72. But I know what you ran. I saw, he was a great, you know, Lee Evans. I saw Lee Evans run 2:56.1, you know, at the Mexico City. Went down to watch him and watch Beeman. I'm a nut, man. I love Beeman jumping that 29 2.5. Lasted all that time. Anyhow, I guarantee you, track and field is in my blood, and I almost like it as much as some of this other stuff. But track and field is absolutely great. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud of this audience that came here. I am so proud for this honor. I could talk all night long. Ask my wife. Lisa, can I talk all night long? Thank you, my son Clint, and thank you, Tom, for introducing me. My sister Vicki here. John, I appreciate so much. You don't have any idea how much I appreciate this honor. God bless you all.
I've known Randy all of my life and all but 5 minutes of his life. We grew up in Waco in Central Texas. I mean, that was back in the 50s, and we liked the 50s so well in Waco, we did it again in the 60s. Kind of a fairly conservative environment. So when it came around to go into college, we rebelled. We went to that big university down in Austin. But growing up, watching track and field was something that you did, you know, watching the Olympics on TV, or sometime the ABC Wide World of Sports. But most of the time, that was just us playing with the kids, running around the block outside. You could go as far as you could go until you could hear the dinner bell ring, and then that was the time to come on back. It really wasn't until junior high that we ever had any organized track and field. We had the good fortune of having David Nobles as our junior high school coach. David went on to coaching success at both high school and college in his career. But in 9th grade, that time in the junior high, David took us for a time trial over to the high school. Well, we didn't know what that was, but they had a track we didn't at the junior high. And we didn't know that he was going to put the high school athletes as part of the time trial. Well, Randy took it upon himself to beat all the high school athletes and me and everybody else out there, and that was his first race ever to run a mile. After that, in 10th grade, when we started high school under the tutelage of Merlin Mara, Randy was two-time district champion both his sophomore and his senior years at Richfield High School and was recruited to numerous universities. As I said, he went on to UT, where he lettered both in cross country and track, and he was in the top runners score points for Texas 3 years in the mile for the university. Well, while he was running, he also started working at the Capitol, and after graduating with his BBA in '73, he joined the state employment ranks, and he spent a lengthy career with the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, where he retired as deputy director. Now he has his own consulting business as lobbyist and provides legal testimony on many dram shop cases and cases involving TTFCA legal issues. Well, after graduating, he joined a newly formed group of track and field enthusiasts that now is known as the University of Texas Track and Field Officials Association. It's one of the largest and most successful officials organizations in the nation. Officiating at the annual Texas Relays, University of Texas track meets, as well as regional and national championships. And that's a all-volunteer, fully trained group. Randy is the Director of Officials, which is a lofty title for somebody that herds cats of 300 volunteer officials that are all trying to figure out where they're supposed to be. He doesn't get to watch the meets anymore, even the competition. But he's always dealing with personnel issues, meeting with the meet director, with James, with the UT officials, with NCAA officials, to make sure that the competition is fairly run, well organized for both the athletes and the officials, so that everybody has a great experience there. He's been doing this and providing an exciting experience for young athletes for over 40 years. He's been quoted as saying that many young athletes may not get the opportunity to compete in college or even be a district champion in their high school years, but they can always carry with them for the rest of their lives the experience of having come with their team and competed in one of the best meets of the year, Texas Relays. I'd like to introduce to you as an inductee to the Hall of Fame tonight, my twin brother, a great official, and my best friend, Randy Yarbrough.
Stuart and Steve, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here, for the support of the Texas Track Field Coaches Association. Y'all do a great job, and just keep doing it, because I see the sport growing more and more again every year. They're, like everybody in this room, we stand on the shoulders of other people that have gone before us and have done so many things. There's some people Rick just mentioned, that some coaches, David Noble, who went on to win national championships at Angelo State, Merlin Mara, who was at was at Howard Payne and then retired at Hardin Simmons as physical education director. Jack Patterson, Jack Daniels was our distance coach, James Blackwood, Stan Huntsman, and then Bubba Thornton. Bubba Thornton is the one who I think rejuvenated the Texas Relays when he said we want to include more and more high school athletes, because they deserve an opportunity to participate, and has made, once again, I think, the excitement there. And then Cleburne Price. Cleburne was my coach. He came in the middle of my career at UT, and Jack Patterson had recruited us. It's kind of a disappointment to wake up over the Christmas holidays, realize your coach has left, and he was coming back to Waco, and I was trying to leave Waco, but Cleburne was named the new head coach. And Cleburne was a sprint and jump coach, so we didn't have a lot in common, but we became close friends after I graduated. Cleburne personally said, I want you to come join this new formed association. We need people that will pay back for the ones who have gone before. I don't know if I'll be doing this as long as Chester Bradley. 60 years this year at the Texas Relays. I've got 20 years to catch up with you, Chester. But the reason Chester goes out there and does it, the reason I do, is for the young men and women who want an opportunity to participate in this sport. And unlike a lot of other sports, 4 or 5 people can officiate it. It takes a lot of people to do it. And most of them are doing it just out of their love, not for any monetary remuneration, because they love that. I want to thank James Barr, who we've said a lot about tonight. James was a manager when I first met him for the team. He then was promoted to the director of the relays. I've been doing it for 40 years. Nobody has done a better job of organization, planning, and execution than James Barr has. He and Beth are just the perfect family. They've got 2 young kids that they juggle those and the track and field and everything. I don't know how he does it, but we all owe him a debt of thanks. And most of all, I want to thank my wife, Diana, who we met the year after I graduated. She never got to see me run, and nobody bleeds orange more than her. Carlette, I'm sorry. She wasn't an athlete, but she's there rooting them on all the way. Every spouse of an official or an athlete spends hours alone because of what we do. And whether they don't see us, we have a bunch of people stay with us whenever we have a track meet. We come home and she's got fruit and cookies and all laid out. And some of them say, we'll never get a hotel. We don't get this kind of service anywhere else. Thank you, Diana, for putting up with that. My younger brother, Tim, my friend Steve and Christy that were able to be here with us tonight, Rick's son, Brian, all of our family has always supported track and field, enjoyed coming every year and getting together and watching meets. We've run over time, but again, I want to thank you very much for all of you staying through the wise here. I know Sammy and I always get to be going last, but thank you so much, and God bless all of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2013 Texas Track Coaches Association Hall of Fame. Give them a round of applause.